Welcome in to No Pulp. Jake Klein with Adam Hipsky. Adam, it felt like there were not a ton of massive games this week, but maybe a bunch of college football games that meant more than we thought they would.
Well, absolutely. You have Indiana putting the beat down on Illinois. I don't think anyone saw that coming. And a Clemson meltdown. Dabo Sweetie 1-3. What's going on?
We're talking all that and a whole lot more. Plus, Adam Hipsky against John Boccio in the Juicer. It's all ahead on No Pulp.
The best performance, I think, all year from Ohio State against Oregon in the Rose Bowl.
They just don't lose at the shoe.
I love what Juju Watkins has done for the sport of basketball.
To stay alive, can they hook them? Touchdown!
They have the most prolific goal scorer of all time.
He will fire.
Well, he's the guy.
I'm the guy.
Ian's the guy today.
Experience is what matters when it comes to Omaha.
Valuable. You know the
Hold
numbers
on.
is everything for a
Hold
team.
on.
First time, how are we feeling, Jake?
I'm excited to win the Juicer. Well, I won't be winning the Juicer today. That'll be either Adam Hipsky or John Boccio. I'm Jake Klein. It's time for No Pulp. Adam, a fun slate of games this past week. It started with big noon in Salt Lake City, number 17 Texas Tech against number 16 Utah, and the Red Raiders win it 34-10. They bludgeoned them.
Yeah, I mean, what a statement for Texas Tech in an age in college football where roster overhaul is so hard to complete and do so well. You look at Colorado, you look at North Carolina, two teams that haven't quite mastered it. Joey McGuire seems to have done it with a Texas Tech team, and especially a Texas Tech defense that didn't even rank in the top 50 from a year ago. They hold Utah.
Yeah, well, it helps when more than half your team is transfers.
Absolutely, and yeah, you know, $25 million might go a little ways to help you pull off a 24-point win, but at the end of the day, money's money. You know, teams are paying players, and you know, you're going to see more and more teams spend upwards of, you know, $15-20 million. But Texas Tech still has to go out there and get the right players and put them in a system to win.
What I learned from this game is that Texas Tech is clearly the best team in the Big 12. I mean, Baron Morton, their starting quarterback, plays the first 2.5 quarters, gets knocked out of the game, and it doesn't matter at all. Will Hammond comes in and plays just as well, if not better. Joey McGuire, who's got a billionaire at his expense to get whatever players he wants, has a pretty darn easy schedule with only 2 games on the slate, Arizona State and BYU, that he could maybe lose, but realistically this is a 12-0 Texas Tech team.
Yeah.
There's not a game on the schedule I think they're gonna lose.
Yeah, I mean, Devon Dampier was being talked about as a potential dark horse Heisman. I mean, come on, Texas Tech's defense shut him down in a big way.
And I do think Utah is still a good program. I mean, Jason Beck, Devin Dampier, that's a good combination for their offense. Kyle Whittingham is always going to have a solid program as long as everybody's healthy, I guess, as we saw last year. But, I mean, when you look at this Big 12 list here, is there a team that stands out to you that can top Texas Tech? I don't see one.
Listen, going into 2025, I wasn't a huge Iowa State guy. They go to Ireland and they pick up that win against Kansas State, and I think now that game's in the rear view because nobody respects what Kansas State is doing.
Right.
But I still think under Rocco Beck that Matt Campbell's got a pretty good squad in the Cyclones, but I do think that the Big 12 behind Texas Tech is wide open, more so than what it's been in previous years, and I also don't think it's very top-heavy, which isn't surprising after Oklahoma and Texas departed for the SEC.
Yeah, and look, Texas Tech avoids those 2 teams right below them in the AP poll that are in the Big 12. That was a big one, and there was another big one in Gaylord Memorial Stadium.
Absolutely. Yeah, Oklahoma and Auburn. Jackson Arnold returns home. And, you know, you heard in the week leading up, Jackson Arnold's dad saying the grass isn't always greener on the other side. But he went in and made a statement. It wasn't enough, though. Oklahoma takes down Auburn 24-17, and John Mateer now has maybe the 2 best wins in college football.
Yeah, my takeaway there is you thought Jackson Arnold played well in this game?
I thought Jackson Arnold did play well.
I thought he was miserable.
Listen, if you get sacked 9 times, you can't expect to win. His offensive line did him no favors, and Oklahoma's defense, I get it, Brett Venables put Bryce Underwood in a blender, but I think what Jackson Arnold did overall, you can't win a game with 9 sacks. You can't do it.
I thought the rest of Auburn's roster, especially the receivers, created separation. I thought the defense played very well against a high-flying Oklahoma offense. I thought there were 10, 12, 20 times in this game where Jackson Arnold just flat out missed an open receiver. I think he is the sole reason Auburn lost this game.
You get sacked once, you kind of start to feel
Throw
that
the
pressure.
ball, get the ball out.
You get that pressure on your back. But listen, if he never had the time, you can't win. You're never comfortable. And then you go to the officials late in this game.
This was bad.
What can you do? What can you do if you're Auburn if the officials just completely miss a penalty that takes away a touchdown? Listen, not only does
and
it
it
take
ends up
away
a 7-point game.
But that 7 points was also because of a late safety. It's still 5 points, and Jackson Arnold has the lead if they take away that touchdown. Listen, there's still momentum, and that's such a big thing in college football, is that a play like that and a missed call like that does so much to take the wind out of your sails, and that is exactly what the SEC recognized, but it doesn't do anything when the playoff committee meets in December.
I agree, and I think there's almost no point of putting out a statement like this if you're the SEC and
It
saying,
just embarrasses
yeah, we're
themselves.
not going to change anything, but we are going to acknowledge that we screwed this up. I don't know what the point of that is. This game just felt to me like Brent Venables dunking all over Hugh Freeze and saying, I got the quarterback I need, and I beat the quarterback I didn't need.
Well, I thought Jackson Arnold was still pretty impressive in this one. I thought so much pressure on him. His offensive line did him no favors. I mean, come on, getting sacked nearly 10 times. That's unheard of for an SEC offensive line. But, you know, Jackson Arnold, I thought the grass is certainly greener for him at least.
I thought the grass looked brown.
Yeah.
I want to get to the night slate because there was a game in this slate that, despite a couple of good games, I just could not take my eyes off. And that was Indiana, number 19, 63, number 9, Illinois, 10. What do you make of that?
I mean, I think that all the doubts about Curt Cignetti being able to pick up a signature win should be erased.
This is not a signature win, though. This is the most fraudulent number 9 team in the country you've ever seen.
A 50-point win over a top 10 team. And this is an Illinois team that is built on winning in the trenches, and they got dominated. Curt Cignetti didn't need to pump up the tires in the week leading up. He didn't need to talk to the media. He didn't say, win, Google me. He just went to work, and he got his boys ready to absolutely, I mean, you see it right there, steamroll.
Yeah, this was as thorough of a beatdown as I've seen in a while.
I mean, Illinois gave up in this one. Their offensive line was bad. Their pass protection was bad. They got down early. They were forced to throw the ball. Luke Altmaier was uncomfortable the whole way. IU absolutely took the life out of them.
Look, I do give Curt Cignetti and Indiana credit. They found a heck of a quarterback in Fernando Mendoza, who was fantastic again on Saturday. But look, you got to give them credit for doing what they couldn't do last year, and that's getting a top 10 win. But can you honestly say that if you put this Illinois team on the field against number 24 Notre Dame, that Illinois is going to be in that game?
I can assure you that it's not going to be a 53-point blowout. I have trust in Brett Bielema, and I'm going to throw this out here. I still think Illinois has a better path to the playoff than what Indiana does.
Yeah, because of the schedule. Indiana has to go to Oregon, has to go to Penn State. But I totally disagree on that. I think the rankings in this game, Indiana 19, Illinois 9, probably should have been flipped.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and I think that Indiana, going out of that offseason a year ago, you never picked up that win. Your two tough games, Ohio State and Notre Dame, albeit they ended up in the national title game, but they didn't perform well in either of those opportunities. So then you go into the offseason, and Curt Cignetti didn't have that signature win. His first opportunity against a ranked foe in 2025, he does that.
Big win for the Hoosiers. Up next, it's the juicer, John Boccio against Adam Hipsky. You won't want to miss it. Welcome back to No Pulp. It's juicer time. Adam Hipsky and the challenger, John Boccio, is here. We'll break it all down in the debate format. 4 questions, if necessary. The first is worth 1, second worth 2, third worth 3, and then if necessary, we'll go to that bonus question.
It won't be.
Yeah, exactly, because I'll
We'll
win
see
first.
about that. John, we'll start with you. The most competitive conference in college football so far.
I mean, it's the easiest answer that anybody could possibly give, and that's because it's the SEC. The Southeastern Conference is by far the best conference in college football and the most competitive. There were 10 SEC squads in the rankings this past week, plus the 26th and 27th teams with the most votes were also SEC teams. Auburn only fell out of the rankings because of a 1-score loss to another SEC squad. I mean, the jokes just write themselves. The SEC is clearly the most competitive college football conference because of that depth. It's just unbeatable.
Yeah, you haven't seen it because Big Ten play hasn't gotten into full swing, but the Big Ten is the most competitive conference. It might not be the best conference, but it's certainly the most competitive one because, listen, I understand that it's top-heavy, Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, but the gap 1 through 11 is a whole lot smaller than what it is in the SEC. You'll see it this weekend when Ohio State goes to Washington and the Huskies pull off the upset. You'll see it when the Hoosiers go to Iowa City and take down the Iowa Hawkeyes. Any team can win on any given day, and that's why the Big Ten is the most competitive conference.
Did not look so competitive in the big top 25 matchup in Bloomington the other night. 63-10, and the first point goes to John Boccio, so 1-0. Second question is worth 2, and we'll again start with John. John, the best transfer in the country so far.
Well, you guys were talking about him just a couple minutes ago, and no, it wasn't Fernando Mendoza. It was John Mateer, by far the best transfer so far this season. I mean, John Mateer has been on an absolute tear. He's the favorite to win the Heisman right now through a couple different sources. This guy has put up numbers like no other. He's got so many signature wins under his belt already. And I mean, you guys were talking about the difference between Jackson Arnold and John Mateer. In terms of pure impact, Mateer has stepped into a pretty similar Oklahoma squad, especially that offensive line, which was horrendous a year ago. He's come in and made it look like the best unit in college football.
John, you've got a guy that threw an interception against Temple and Illinois State. I've got a guy that doesn't stoop to his competition. He rises, and that's Fernando Mendoza, the quarterback for Indiana. 14 touchdowns and no interceptions. This guy has been unbelievable. John Mateer came from the West Coast. So did Fernando Mendoza, but the difference is Fernando Mendoza has completed over 75% of his passes, and he just took down and put an absolute beatdown on Illinois, a team that is built on playing strong defense, playing well in the trenches, and Fernando Mendoza diced them up. 14 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. That's just unheard of. Best transfer in the country by far.
I'm not a John Mateer believer. I think he's a little bit reckless, but I think so far he's been better than Mendoza, and he's done it against better competition. 2 points to John Boccio and a 3-0 lead for the challenger. So now the question for Adam Hipsky, who's done the best coaching job thus far?
Yeah, it's Joey McGuire. You talk about a guy that did a roster overhaul, and we talked about it earlier, but Joey McGuire has been an absolute game changer for Texas Tech. I mean, the guys in Lubbock love him because he has been absolutely unbelievable. 4-0 with a serious path to not just a Big 12 title, which would do wonders for everyone in Lubbock, but also a college football playoff berth, which is unheard of for Texas Tech. A defense didn't even rank in the top 100 a year ago, hasn't ranked in the top 50 in the last decade. Joey McGuire's got his boys playing very good football right now.
Well, Adam, what does Joey McGuire have that my guy doesn't? An unlimited budget, and that's why Mario Cristobal is by far the most impressive coach so far this season. He's got 3 signature wins already in Florida, South Florida, and then Notre Dame in week 1. Those are 3 wins that last season, you don't know if Mario Cristobal wins those games. There's always people on his back. There's always question marks around him, and he has silenced all of the hate this season, which is why I think Cristobal has been dealt a harder hand hand and yet has still come out on top.
Mario Cristobal and best
appreciate
coaching
what
should
Mario
never be in the same
Cristobal
sentence.
has done, but I agree with Adam there. I don't know if Mario Cristobal and best coach in the country ever belong in the same sentence.
It's not the best coach.
So let's go to the bonus question. Yep. It's all tied up, 3 apiece. Last point will determine it. Adam, you'll start the most overrated team in the country.
Listen, I don't think this team is bad, but it's Oregon. Oregon is the most overrated team in the country, and you'll see it on Saturday in Happy Valley. I'm not saying that the Ducks aren't a potential college football playoff team, but they're not a top 6 team. It's hard to replace what they did a year ago.
Yeah, and I totally understand that, but Ole Miss has got to be the pick here. They have barely beaten competition that they should be beating by far
35
more than
points
you would
over
expect.
Tulane?
Yeah, and then you beat Arkansas, the worst defense in the SEC, by 6.
And the best offense.
Yeah, well, Kentucky also is a very mid-table to the lower table team in the SEC. They only beat them by 7. It's Ole Miss by 1 million.
This is tough because I don't agree with either one of these, to be honest. But if I had to pick one, I would say Ole Miss. Probably a little bit more overrated. I'm not a Lane Kiffin defender, so John Boccio takes the 4-3 win in the juicer, and now we will turn our attention to the panic meter, which comes up next on No Pulp. We're breaking down who should be concerned and who just had a little hiccup. Stay with us.
They took over my bedroom. Come on, come on. Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. Dad! You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Welcome back. No Pulp continues. He's Jake Klein. I'm Adam Hipsky, and we've got a panic meter behind us. You could say there's quite a few teams across the college football landscape that might be a little closer to here for the sinking ship, but we're going to touch on 3 of them, Jake, and we got to start with Clemson. Dabo Swinney, where do you rank Clemson here along this meter?
So I think this is going to be an unpopular answer, and I think a lot of people out there are probably leaning sinking ship, if not a ship that's already sunk.
Yeah.
Because I acknowledge that Clemson's college football playoff hopes for this season are over.
Yeah.
They're dead. But I'm going to say I'm a little worried about Clemson on the long term. And that's because, look, everything that Dabo Swinney has said over the last week or so is totally accurate. Yes, this team is bad. And I think there's a chance they don't even win 6 games, don't even go to a bowl game. But you are allowed to have one bad season in 18 years under the same head coach. I'm sorry, but you are.
I don't think this is one bad season. Dabo Swinney, his stubbornness in the transfer portal in years leading up, and then a 1-3 start, the worst start since the early 2000s, has me right here at the sinking ship. Because listen, Dabo Swinney just wasted 3 years of a Heisman contending quarterback in Cade Klubnik, and now the ship is going down. Because what can you say about this Tigers team that doesn't have a vote in the AP poll? You haven't looked good at all through 4 games in 2025, and the only thing that I think is going to save them from not being a sunk ship and Dabo Swinney being out of a job in the ACC is the fact that you see it right there, only 1 ranked opponent left, and that's Florida State, which
he's got a $60 million buyout. The guy is not going anywhere. Look what Florida State did last year. They won 2 games, and they're just fine. They're going to be a top 15 team by the year's end. That's what's great about this era of college football. You can rebuild a team in 1 year. That's what I expect Clemson to do. They're going to be okay.
So you're not worried about what Clemson has done in the years past and then not being able to put that in the rear view?
No, not at all.
See, that's where
You're going to have a totally new team in another year. That's what's great about college football in 2025.
Yeah, that's where I disagree. But a team that we'll see what you think about is Illinois. We talked about it earlier, and the Illini were absolutely thrashed at the hands of Indiana. And I think that Brett Bielema's group has a serious problem, and I'll tell you why. I know it's just one loss, and I do still think the Fighting Illini have a path to the college football playoff. But the reason why Illinois lost was because they were absolutely manhandled in the trenches against Indiana. In a college football season, you only get so many slip-ups, but this one was such a bad loss that I err more towards the serious problem side and less on the a little worried or all good side.
I think you, like a whole lot of America, got baited by the AP Top 25 rankings and went into this game and said, well, Illinois is the number 9 team in the country, which it is absolutely not the 9th best team in the country.
That's why they're a serious
And that's why
problem.
I am only a little worried about the Fighting Illini because, look, the fact of the matter is, they just weren't that good to begin with. They are a solid team. They are not, as we saw the other night on Saturday in Bloomington, an elite team. But they are still 3-1. They are still a top 25 team. They have a great chance this upcoming week in the big noon game to beat a top 25 team in USC. And look, there's a good chance that if you're in the Big Ten and you finish the season unbeaten but for games against Indiana and Ohio State, you could sneak into the college football playoff. So this loss is, look, it was ugly, and I recognize that. But I think Brett Bielema's team still has a great chance to go to the college football playoff. I'm not that worried at all.
And you think that loss, even though it was by 53 points with another loss in there, you think that 2-loss team, even though it's an ugly, at least 1 loss there, you think they still have a chance?
I think they have a chance. I mean, it's going to depend on what the rest of the field looks like, but if you're in the Big Ten with 2 wins against teams that will probably finish in the top 10, you're going to give yourself a fighter's chance.
Well, Illinois has a quarterback in Luke Altmaier to at least try and steer this ship back on track. And another team that also has a quarterback that can keep this team on track or at least steer them back onto the rails, that's South Carolina. Lenore Sellers, QB1 of the Gamecocks. Where do you think Shane Beamer's group is?
Sinking ship.
Sinking ship.
And here's why. You are wasting the last year you have Lenore Sellers, one of the best quarterbacks in the country. You lost in a blowout to Vanderbilt. You lose by 2 scores to Missouri. And you only have 3 real good chances at a win right now left on the schedule, which gets South Carolina to how many wins on the season? 5. They've got a 5-game stretch coming up after they play Kentucky next week, at number 4 LSU, home against number 7 Oklahoma, home against number 14 Alabama, at number 13 Ole Miss, and at number 9 Texas A&M. Is there a win in there anywhere? Probably not, which means you got to beat Kentucky, beat Coastal Carolina, and beat Clemson just to get to 5 wins. And if you can't get to 6 wins with Lenore Sellers as your quarterback, then Shane Beamer, you are fired. And South Carolina, you have to restart as a program with a new head coach.
Listen, I think South Carolina just needs a little bit of time, and that is why I am only
They don't have time.
concerned. They do, because you've got Kentucky this week, and then you've got a bye, which I think is going to be absolutely crucial for South Carolina to get back on track. And I understand an 0-2 SEC record isn't pretty. In fact, it's pretty ugly. But the 24
And these are not the cream of the crop SEC teams they've played.
Yeah, but Vanderbilt's good. Missouri is good. You know, you gave John Boccio a point earlier for how good this SEC is. How about 2 teams ranked in the top 25 there? Listen, I think South Carolina, it's hard to win in the SEC. And I don't think you can look at any schedule across the board and say this team is only going to lose 1 game, lose 2 games. In South Carolina, where were your expectations if it wasn't 8-9 wins? I think that's where they should have been, and I think they can get there still. Just give them some time to reset.
I think there's no chance they even get to 6 wins. All right, we've got our plays of the week and our final words coming up to wrap up shop on No Pulp just after this. Don't go anywhere.
Here we go. We're going to go out there in the rain. You're going to get wet. All right, here we go. Okay, quick. Oh, yeah, yes. So much fun. Mwah. Yeah, Dad. We're getting so wet. Oh,
Welcome back on No Pulp, wrapping up shop after week 4 of the college football season. Jake Klein, Adam Hipsky. It is play of the week time, and we will begin with mine. A play that's going to change the offensive scheme and play style in all of football. It is Purdue. The running back, Devin Mockabee, takes the read option handoff, and then, right to the quarterback, Ryan Brown, through the air. I love when we see new, creative, inventive stuff from offensive coordinators in football, and this is a play that you're going to see again and again with different added variations over the next couple of years. This is a play that could legitimately change offenses in football. That was awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not going to get that fancy with mine, but it's still an impressive play nonetheless. We go to San Diego versus Princeton, and it's Tyler Voss to Josh Heverly. Okay, we'll roll it right behind us in just a second, but San Diego in a close
game. I can't believe you went to San Diego Princeton.
A
for your play of
close
the
game
week.
with San Diego and Princeton when every touchdown matters. Just give your receiver a chance. And Josh Heverly, I mean, what a snag for the fella there. Outside release, one-on-one coverage, being held on by his jersey. Just give your guy a chance, and that was a chance, and his guy came down with it. What an impressive play right there from Josh Heverly.
All right, it's time for our final words, and for mine, we go to the Division III level. In a college football world defined by greed and power and 20-something-year-old swagger, Tom Sillo is rewriting the playbook at age 58. He's not a coach, not a trainer. No, he's a player at 58 years old at Division III Lycoming College. A defensive lineman who suited up and grinded through training camp alongside teammates younger than his kids. And he's not doing it for the viral story. He's chasing a dream he left behind 4 decades ago when addiction sidetracked his football career. Now, with steel implants in his spine and decades of grit under his belt, Tom's back in the pads for the first time since high school. And his message? Be unbreakable. Because age doesn't kill dreams. Giving up does. Now, Tom hasn't appeared in the Warriors' first 3 games, but he's still redefining what's possible for every person who ever thought it was too late. Tom Sillo isn't just playing football, he's playing for redemption, for resilience, and for every underdog still willing to fight.
That's a powerful message right there, Jake, from Tom Sillo. Over the course of an entire college football season, though, every game, every play, every moment matters. But what fans can't stand and what shouldn't be accepted is when officials miss consequential calls that don't just change a game, but alter what seasons look like. This weekend, the SEC admitted that a trick play touchdown by Oklahoma over Auburn should have been overturned and a penalty should have been called, but that's not a minor detail. That's a moment that shifts momentum, affects rankings, and can make or break a playoff season. Then, in Week 3, Texas A&M's game-winning touchdown against Notre Dame, where a clear holding penalty was missed. Think about what that means for the team that got wronged. All that effort, 4 quarters of blood, sweat, tears, gone because one critical and blatant infraction was overlooked. We're not asking for perfection. That's a tall order in real time. But what fans, players, coaches, and the playoff selection committee deserve is consistency. When replay is available, when rule books are clear, and when the consequence of a call is massive, it's on the officials to get it right. And when they don't, there needs to be ownership of the mistake. Transparent review, real consequences, and let's be clear, seasons are won or lost in moments like these. If the calls that change everything are allowed to be wrong, or even worse, ignored, then what are we really watching?
I, by the way, am asking for perfection from the officials. I think that is an egregious thing to miss.
Yep.
And I think that Notre Dame call might have been even worse. All right, that's the show. Enjoy a great week of college football coming up. For Adam Hipsky, I'm Jake Klein saying so long from our Citrus TV studios.